No, we're not. Now we're back.
Now we're back.
Now we're back.
Um,
Always membership.
and let's right.
Always check if that's
Always
on.
check.
Always check.
And let's move on to probably the biggest news in sports
I would call
this
it
week.
definitely the most sophisticated, the most complex news in sports.
I mean, this story is everywhere right now because of the impact it has. Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about the NBA in China. Daryl Morey decides to take a stance, which don't really get the move there.
It's a bold move.
It's a bold move.
It's a bold move, Cotton. We'll see if it pays off.
When you're a billionaire and you're working so closely with China and you're like, let me just wreck it.
That's the thing. The Houston Rockets are the team that have like the biggest like Asian fan base. They have a whole Asian night where they change their uniforms.
Their culture jerseys are Chinese lettering.
Yeah.
They're deeply entrenched in China. I think the Rockets are the team most associated with China.
I think that's why it was so upsetting. Honestly, I think that's why it was such a big deal. I think if a team like if they think like Scott Perry or Steve Mills, the New York Knicks does this.
Oh yeah, if James Dolan comes out and does that,
nobody cares. Nobody cares.
But Daryl Morey, that team is. I mean, it started with Yao, and then China just loved the Rockets, and the Rockets loved China. They've scouted over there a lot. They've had a pretty steady stream of Asian players.
So, all right. Well, before we get into it, do you want to give a breakdown of what you know and what I know? Like, we just kind of put all the facts on the table.
So, Daryl Morey tweeted out a photo, like a graphic that said, like, stand with Hong Kong, right?
Yeah, fight for freedom.
Obviously,
stand with
Hong Kong.
Yeah.
Mass protests going on for democracy. China was how do you say not happy, a little miffed,
perturbed,
that yes,
yeah,
perturbed at old Daryl's tweet.
Yeah.
They were furious. They canceled the Nets game that went on that night.
Yeah, the cancellation of the game, I think, is what let people know this was serious.
And China had made serious threats, and Adam Silver came out. And what he did was essentially bow down. He bowed down to China on this issue. And regardless of what your stance is on it, it's blatant that China is the opposite of American ideals, right? When you look at what America is when you think of freedom and independence and democracy, that we're supposed to be champions for that.
Any country where a meme gets taken down because it makes fun of their leader, like that's the opposite of America. That's the exact opposite
of what America is supposed to
represent. You can't post pictures of Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah,
that's the real crime because he looks like Xi Jinping. That's what it is, and he does. He really does.
But the fact of the matter is that Adam Silver, as the commissioner of the NBA, did not come out and say that they support Hong Kong.
Well, not even Adam Silver. Daryl Morey's direct boss, Tillman Fertitta, the owner of the Houston Rockets. This is his tweet. I'm looking at it right now. It says, "Listen, at Daryl Morey does not speak for the Houston Rockets. Our presence in Tokyo is all about the promotion of the NBA internationally, and we are not a political organization." That's backpedaling, kids. That's what it looks like.
Oh, big backpedaling.
So when your own like entity doesn't support you, that's bad.
Yeah. And they made James Harden come out and give an apology.
Oh, dude, this is a bad look.
They made him, which such an obvious
pander. It's pandering.
Yeah,
that's all it is.
And listen to this. I'm about to read James Harden's apology. Listen to this,
man.
Right, and tell me how sincere this sounds.
Okay, give it to me.
We apologize. You know, we love China. We love playing there. I know for both of us, talking about him and Russell Westbrook individually, we go there, once or twice a year. They show us the most important love. So, we appreciate them as a fan base and we love everything, they're about. And we appreciate the support that they give us individually and as an organization. So, we love you. He then smiled and looked down.
Yeah. For anybody who doesn't know, support equals money. These players are selling.
We appreciate the
Money.
money.
The NBA appreciates the money. The Houston Rockets appreciate the money. These players appreciate the money from all the games these people watch, the shoes they buy. The number one place that they ship merchandise to for the NBA, sneakers, jerseys, is China.
China is huge for the NBA. Basketball is huge in China. The NBA is huge in China. The Chinese Basketball Association is huge.
So on Tencent Sports, which is a government-owned company in China, it was who are suspending their live streaming services and all reporting of the games in the NBA. Nearly 500 million people in China watched the NBA programming last year on their platforms.
Wild.
500 million just on that one platform.
That's like half the population.
That's what I'm like.
China's at $1 billion, right?
If you think basketball is popular here, it is so big over there. It is their sport. That's why you see videos of Steph Curry playing exhibition games with semi-pro Chinese players. It's not a coincidence
Basketball
he's
is
there.
huge in China. There's a reason why whenever guys get too old for the NBA, they go to China.
They're celebrated there. These
Stephon Marbury is a legend in China.
Oh yeah.
He is the Michael Jordan of China.
I mean, that makes sense to me though.
Yeah.
Like that,
yeah.
It's so clearly about the money. And the
Yeah.
fact that Adam Silver came out later with a more hardline approach,
Yeah.
I mean, speaks to the fact that players and fans on the home side are not happy about this at all, and they're taking stock and they're listening. But the thought in the first place of human rights, we'll take the money.
Yeah, and
It's disgusting.
Obviously. Like you could say this about any corporation, right? We know that you're going to take the money and let China do the awful things they're doing. We know you're going to do that. Whenever you come out and make a blatant play at trying to appease them, when one of your owners takes a stand against them.
Well, no, let's clarify. Not the owner, the GM. Yeah,
GM.
Because the owner was like, no.
Yeah, GM. Whenever you have a big figure come out and say or try to make some sort of social justice stand, you have two choices, and neither of them are going to be great for you.
Well, especially if you're the NBA has prided themselves on being a social justice vehicle, whether it's the T-shirts,
yes,
players being outspoken, they celebrate it.
They are, or they try to be the woke league.
Yeah, like they celebrate it. They put it on their commercials. They let their players go out there and talk about what they want to talk about.
They pride themselves, or they
but the moment it comes to money, that's all shut down.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and you'll be a bleeding heart for as long as your wallet's not bleeding, and then let's take a step back here.
So the story's still unfolding day to day, but the latest update is from yesterday, where every one of the NBA's partners suspended in China suspended their ties with the league. So like that's right now that's suspended. They don't know what's going to happen next. Rachel Nichols put out a cool story on their Instagram, which I highly suggest you follow if you like basketball in particular. She was at the NBA China game between the Lakers and
Lakers Warriors, wasn't it?
Lakers Warriors.
Yeah.
The people had to go on the court early to sand off the logos because they were painted onto the hardwood floor. That's how serious it was. This is for real. Anybody who thinks it's just a publicity stunt or something, no. This is for real. They actually went down with sanders and took it off the floor.
Oh yeah, because they probably would have been murdered if they didn't.
So I mean, this has serious ramifications.
Pre-game, post-game media sessions canceled.
Yeah. I mean, this could honestly change a lot because
it's ugly.
If China decides not to follow the NBA anymore and they put enough money into their own league, it could rival with that fan base.
The thing is,
I don't know about the talent level, but
it's always going to be the talent level, and nobody's ever going to pick the CBA over the NBA. It will never happen
unless the only reason I think about is the money, and there's bigger audience just to pick from.
Yeah,
which is the scary part, because if that generates enough money in that society, you're not gonna steal LeBron, you're not gonna steal Luka you're gonna take a fringe player, somebody that people really like. Do you know what I mean? Like, hey, maybe a Devin Booker gets really tired of losing for 8 years and decides, hey, I'm gonna go take that big paycheck in China.
Oh man, imagine Devin Booker.
But that's what I'm saying,
China.
like,
That
somebody
dude would
who's-
be
who-
averaging 80 points a game.
Exactly. Somebody who's not at superstar level yet, they're right there. But if they never make it, or you players along those lines, what's stopping them from going to China, for the big payday?
Yeah, I mean, and that's what guys do. I don't think China's retaliation to this will be completely severing ties with the NBA and then trying to sort of make this like a war between basketball associations. I think this will blow over.
But
I think the NBA will do whatever it can to maintain ties with China because they're a business.
that makes complete sense. But do you think that's going to have to wait till after these protests are done? Because it seems like
it's it's so ugly for them.
Because and like, not to be political or anything, but like, take a stand, China's in the wrong in that protest.
Oh well,
Hong Kong, when it was transferred to
obviously.
China, was
Hong
given.
Kong is just saying, "Hey, give us freedom," and
But it's-
China's saying, "No."
See, but the thing, it's not saying give us freedom, it's let us keep our freedom, because when Hong Kong was given from Britain to China, it had its own, I don't know if it was constitution. It was written about it that it had its own set of
Yeah,
rules. It had
and then
freedoms,
China was like,
and
nope.
they slowly started encroaching, and
Yeah.
now people are saying enough's enough.
Yeah.
So China's not like, the NBA cannot come out in support of China. There's no way. Even you're seeing it in gaming. Blizzard, one of the biggest companies, is getting boycotted
Yeah.
because they took away winnings from a kid who supported the Hong Kong protest.
that
on
was
live.
terrible. That was terrible.
They also fired the two sportscasters who were just sitting there and then ducked when the kid came on camera because they knew what was they saw what was happening.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I'm personally loving this. I love watching billionaire suits squirm
yeah,
at having to, God forbid, take a moral stand on something.
I know, but I love seeing that the consumers are dictating what's happening. Blizzard is getting boycotted; they're losing revenue. The NBA got a bunch of backlash and changed its tune
I
immediately.
think people are realizing how much power they have. I mean, I think that's a thing that we can take away from these Hong Kong protests.
Especially with social media.
Moves are being made.
Yeah, and like, especially if
Power to the people.
if you have a platform to get your voice out there and get other like-minded people to agree with you, and then present that to someone in power, like that's a big deal.
I would not be surprised if an NBA superstar came out in support of Hong Kong. I would not be shocked.
Not at all.
I think if LeBron did it,
That'd be a shock.
that would be great. But also, LeBron has been such a voice for social justice for so long. Oh, sorry for playing footsie
No,
with
you're
you.
good. I liked it. It's all
Yeah,
right.
right. Like, he has not been afraid to speak his mind on important issues. He is one of the biggest figures in America in terms of being a champion for things like this, outside of politicians. I think it would be huge if he came out in support of Hong Kong. I would love to see it. It's just a thing where I think the NBA is going completely nuclear on its players right now, on anybody involved, saying, like, if you come out in support of Hong Kong, we're going to do something bad.
Like, it's going to be an issue. I
Because
agree.
they can't afford another person coming out.
Well, I also think every business manager of these guys and their publicists, because they all have at least one, is going to them right now and going, this is how much money we make from the Chinese market in your merch.
This is how it's going to impact you.
And then there's the publicist going, don't say anything. You don't want
Yeah.
the questions. You don't want the burden. You don't want to be the face of this movement.
Oh,
Keep your mouth shut.
someone tried to ask Harden and Westbrook about like how they feel about like being able to speak out, and one of the like team officials who was at the press conference like shut her up.
Yeah, of
Like
course.
he he stopped her. Like he was like, no.
I think because the Houston Rockets like fan base and how much they've embraced that culture, it magnifies this to a whole new level.
Yeah,
think
it's
if, like-
different from other teams. I
like,
mean, it would still be huge if like
But if Milwaukee came out and was like, hey, you're doing it wrong, I think we'd all be like, good for you, Milwaukee. But
I still think this would be a huge story. I think it just
It'd be a huge story,
It
but
adds a little bit more.
I don't think the disrespect would be there as much as because it's a Houston Rockets official.
Yeah.
I think that honestly, like, it feels like there's more of a disrespect factor there than just a team calling out someone they do business with. Because of that fan base, and there's some kind of brotherhood there between the the ownership and this fan base.
Yeah.
So it's a complicated story. We're gonna see
It's
where
tough.
it goes. Any final? I mean, what do you think on this final? I don't know.
I mean, it's fun to watch. It's fun to watch. I hope that there's some sort of big explosion at the end of this. That something happens. Cause oh man, it's a powder keg. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Thank you for listening on China.
Alrighty.
There we go.